Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The morning sun filtering through the company's large bay windows was only a prelude to what was to come. Lily Parker, the director's daughter, stepped out of her car with a small smile, carefully concealing her identity behind a modest, borrowed cleaning uniform. Her hair was neatly tied back, her face lightly made up to appear tired, and her gloved hands created the perfect illusion. For a long time, Lily had wanted to understand the real lives of those who worked for her father. The board meetings and decisions always seemed distant to her, but today she wanted to see what the employees really thought about power and authority. As soon as she entered, she felt the other employees' gaze, curious but slightly contemptuous. Some laughed quietly, whispered insults, or lightly shoved her, pretending it was just an accident. One young intern even dared to criticize her for her lack of professionalism while she was cleaning the break room. But the further she walked down the corridors, the more she discovered a world of petty humiliations and cruel gossip. The words thrown at her, the condescending looks, and the gratuitous mockery shocked her deeply. Yet she remained silent, observing, recording every detail, every injustice, every humiliation inflicted on those perceived as inferior. What she didn't know was that this simple test of hers would set off a chain reaction that would shatter the cozy comfort of the company and reveal the true nature of some employees to everyone. Lily Parker walked through the company's large glass doors with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Her cleaning uniform made her look humble and insignificant, but her piercing gaze betrayed her curiosity and determination. Each step she took echoed lightly on the immaculate floor of the main lobby. From the first few minutes, she felt the weight of stares. Some employees exchanged mocking smiles, others murmured remarks about her supposed clumsiness or slowness. A man in the hallway, an employee she vaguely knew by name, shoved her, claiming she had knocked over a pile of documents, even though she hadn't touched anything. "Be careful," he said, laughing, as his colleagues burst out laughing behind him. Lily, unperturbed, simply smiled weakly and picked up the fallen leaves. Inside, she mentally noted every attitude, every word, every gesture. She wanted to understand how the employees treated those they considered beneath them. Later, in the break room, she witnessed a scene that made her shudder. Several employees were mocking a new recruit, a shy young woman who seemed incapable of defending herself. Lily felt a cold anger rise within her. The daily humiliations, the petty power plays, the silent mockery, it was worse than anything she had imagined. For now, she remained silent. Her role was to observe, to learn, and above all, to keep everything secret. But she knew she couldn't remain passive forever. Something in her eyes already signaled that the apparent calm would soon be shattered. Lily had barely begun her cleaning task in the ground floor offices when she felt the hostility of the staff intensify. The mockery, at first discreet, became more audacious. An older colleague, who seemed to rule the break room, said sarcastically, "Be careful, little one, you'll break everything if you keep going like this." Lily smiled inwardly, but didn't reply. She knew that every word spoken now could betray her true identity. Shortly after, a young employee, thinking he could take advantage of her supposed naivety, tripped her up while passing behind her with a trolley loaded with files. "Oops," he said, laughing, but his smile was contemptuous, as if he were laughing at her supposed incompetence. Lily stood up calmly and continued her work, feigning confusion and awkwardness. Yet inside, she was taking in every detail, the faces, the attitudes, the way everyone treated each other. The most shocking scene came when she entered the office of an archiving intern. He looked her up and down and said, loud enough for others to hear, "You shouldn't even be here. This job is for people like us, not for." He paused, noticing her silence and her intense gaze. Lily had understood that she could no longer remain invisible. With a calm but icy smile, she leaned in slightly and whispered, almost to herself, "Maybe, but I see everything." The intern, surprised, took a step back. Lily left the office as if nothing had happened, but in her head, she began planning her next actions. Every humiliation she received, every mockery, every cruel remark became valuable information. She understood now that this test went far beyond simple observations. It was about exposing the true personalities of those who believed themselves safe behind their uniforms and their small everyday power. And Lily was ready to reveal what she had seen, at the most unexpected moment. Over the course of the day, Lily had compiled a mental list of the most arrogant and cruel employees. She knew exactly who was mocking, who was condescending, and who took advantage of their supposed status to humiliate others. But she didn't want to just observe, it was time to sow the first seeds of surprise. As she walked down the main hallway with her cleaning cart, she noticed Jake, an employee who had mocked her several times, showing his contempt in front of his colleagues. Without showing anything, Lily discreetly dropped a bucket of water right behind him. The sound of the liquid splashing on the floor attracted everyone's attention. Jake turned around, surprised and slightly embarrassed, while the other employees burst out laughing, not at him, but at the unexpected situation. Lily, unfazed, continued on her way as if nothing had happened. The message was clear, she wasn't as naive as they thought. Later, in the break room, she observed another employee openly mocking a colleague by delaying her work. Lily calmly intervened subtly, knocking over a nearby tray of coffee, drawing attention to the mess. The person who had been humiliating felt embarrassed, and for the first time, some colleagues began to look at Lily with curiosity rather than contempt. However, Lily wasn't looking for immediate revenge. Every move was calculated, meant to show that every humiliation had its consequences. She was beginning to understand the power of discreet observation and subtlety. The staff, who believed they could manipulate everyone with impunity, would soon discover they were dealing with someone capable of turning the tables with intelligence and composure. At the end of the day, as she packed up her things, Lily felt a thrill of satisfaction. She had begun to sow confusion and doubt in the minds of some of the employees, but that was only the beginning. Her real plan to reveal the truth behind everyone's masks was only just beginning. On the second day of her immersion, Lily felt that the atmosphere in the company had already changed. Some employees now looked at her suspiciously, wondering if this new cleaner was really as naive as she seemed. Others, more arrogant, continued their little humiliations, convinced that no one was really watching them. While cleaning the office of one of the most critical supervisors, Lily overheard a conversation that left her speechless. Two colleagues were laughing as they mocked an intern who was too timid to defend himself, making up humiliating stories about him. She mentally noted every detail, every word, every expression. That's when she decided to take action. With imperturbable calm, she placed a small recording on the desk, containing part of the conversation she had just overheard. Then, silently, she walked away. Shortly after, the supervisor came in and overheard the recording. Looks grew worried, faces paled. For the first time, the employees realized that their actions and words could have immediate consequences. During her lunch break, Lily made another discovery. Several employees were openly sharing sensitive information about other colleagues, thinking no one was listening. With a simple gesture, she dropped a notebook in which she had begun to jot down every name and incident. The notebook was picked up by a curious employee, and soon, the gossip and petty humiliations began to turn against their perpetrators. Lily was beginning to understand that true power lay not in status or title, but in knowledge and observation. Every humiliation she had experienced or witnessed became a piece of a puzzle she was patiently assembling. And soon, that puzzle would reveal the harsh truth of everyone's behavior. As she left the company that evening, Lily felt a new excitement. The employees had begun to realize that the cleaning lady might not be so insignificant, and the doubt sown in their minds was the first step toward the upheaval that would follow. By the morning of the fifth day, Lily felt the company was already tense. The previously trusting and mocking employees seemed to be walking on eggshells. Everyone feared that their every word or action would be observed and possibly revealed. Lily, meanwhile, moved forward confidently, as if nothing could faze her. She began her day by entering the office of a particularly cruel employee, who had often mocked her and other staff members. With almost theatrical calm, she dropped a folder containing several notes she had discreetly jotted down over the days: mockery, humiliation, malicious gossip. "Oh, did you put that there?" the employee stammered, unable to hide his embarrassment. Lily didn't respond. She simply smiled slightly and continued on her way. The mere knowledge that her actions had been documented was enough to create a palpable sense of unease. Later, in the break room, she observed a group of co-workers discussing another employee's mistakes. Without raising her voice, Lily knocked over a tray of coffee cups nearby, creating a small disturbance and drawing attention to those who were laughing. The gesture seemed innocent, but everyone understood that Lily had the situation under control. The laughter turned to nervous murmurs, and some began to look at each other suspiciously. The day continued with several small, discreet but effective interventions: a card overturned, an important document moved, a note left on an employee's desk to confront them about their own behavior. Each gesture sent the same message: no one was safe from the truth. At the end of the day, Lily retreated to a quiet corner, content. She had begun to expose the staff's human failings and hidden cruelties, all while remaining hidden behind her uniform. She knew the decisive moment was approaching. Soon, the staff would discover that the mysterious cleaning lady was actually the headmaster's daughter. And when that day came, the shock would be immense. On the 6th day, Lily felt the time had come to escalate her actions. The employees were now on their guard, some eyeing her suspiciously, others clumsily trying to hide their past behavior. The effect of her previous interventions was beginning to be felt. A subtle fear of discovery had replaced arrogant confidence. While cleaning the accounting department office, she caught an employee falsifying reports to give himself an advantage. Calmly, she took a discreet photo with her phone before continuing on her way as if nothing had happened. Moments later, another employee, who had witnessed the scene, approached her and whispered, "Who are you really?" Lily smiled inwardly. The tension in her colleagues' voices was palpable. She knew the doubt sown in them would soon reach its peak. In the break room, the confrontation became direct. Several employees, exasperated by a series of mysterious incidents, misplaced documents, revealing notes, spilled coffee cups, gathered to question him. One of them, red with anger, shouted, "Are you deliberately humiliating us or what?" Lily, with icy calm, looked them all straight in the eye and calmly replied, "I only show what you don't want to see. Your actions have consequences." The whispers grew louder. Some began to argue with each other, each accusing the other of betrayal, abuse of power, or past mockery. Lily watched, noting every reaction, every twinge of guilt, every panicked look. That day, she realized she had crossed a threshold. The employees had lost confidence in themselves and in each other. The first direct confrontations had highlighted the fragility of their arrogance and their small daily humiliations. Lily only had to take the final step, reveal her identity and show that what they took for a simple cleaning lady was in fact the director's daughter. On the 7th day, Lily felt the moment approaching to reveal her identity. All the tension built up among the employees was palpable. The mocking laughter and condescending looks had given way to suspicion and concern. Everyone wondered who was really hiding behind this mysterious cleaning lady. In the main office, she invited a few employees, those who had been the most cruel and arrogant, to attend a small meeting. Their faces were closed, some whispering to each other, others giving defiant looks. Lily remained silent for a moment, observing each of them, registering their reactions. Then, calmly, she removed her cleaning uniform, revealing her elegant and well-groomed teenage attire. Stares widened, some employees almost falling off their chairs. "I'm Lily Parker, the headmaster's daughter," she announced in a clear, firm voice. The silence that followed was heavy and almost palpable. The shocked employees were at a loss for words. The mockery and humiliation they had endured over the days now seemed trivial, almost ridiculous. Lily continues. "For a week, I observed your behavior. I saw how some of you humiliated your colleagues, how you mocked those you considered weak or insignificant. Everything was noted. Everything was seen." Faces paled. The most arrogant, taken aback, lowered their eyes or tried to justify themselves, but Lily left no room for error. She showed them some of the notes, photos, and recordings she had discreetly collected. Every detail echoed their own actions, and guilt was evident on every face. At that precise moment, Lily realized her plan had worked. She had not only exposed the humiliations and injustices, she had also immediately raised awareness. The employees understood that true strength lies not in hierarchy or power, but in respect and integrity. After the revelation, the atmosphere in the company was electrifying. The employees were still in shock, some whispering to each other, others looking at each other with obvious guilt. The mockery and humiliation of the previous days now seemed unreal, almost absurd in the face of the truth. Lily spoke in a calm but authoritative voice. What you have done and said in recent days will not go unpunished. Everyone must be held accountable for their actions. But there is also a lesson to be learned: it is never too late to change. She began by summoning the most cruel and arrogant, demanding that they publicly apologize to those they had humiliated. Some tried to minimize their actions, but Lily remained firm. The apologies were clumsy, sometimes forced, but the message had been received: respect should prevail over arrogance and mockery. Next, she turned to the other employees, those who had witnessed or passively participated in the humiliations. Lily encouraged them to support their colleagues and create a more just and respectful work environment. Gradually, the staff began to realize the importance of solidarity and kindness in everyday work. Finally, she announced that certain measures would be put in place to prevent such situations from recurring: training on respect at work, systems for monitoring behavior, and above all a culture of transparency and responsibility. Lily knew the road to real change would be long, but she had planted the first seeds. Employees, still reeling, were beginning to understand that true strength lies not in power or status, but in respect and integrity. As she left the office that evening, she felt a quiet pride. Her experience as a cleaner had helped reveal hidden truths, confront injustices, and lay the foundation for a more just and humane environment. In the days that followed, the company gradually transformed. Employees, still reeling from the shock of Lily's revelation, began to reevaluate their behavior and interactions. Those who had been the cruelest became more humble, while those who had been passive realized the importance of not turning a blind eye to injustice. Lily, discreetly observing the changes, felt a deep satisfaction. Tensions and rivalries were gradually easing. Daily humiliations, once commonplace, were now openly discussed and corrected. Employees learned to support each other, respect one another, and even sincerely apologize when necessary. A significant moment came when a young intern, who had been mocked mercilessly earlier in the week, received a public compliment for his excellent work on an important project. Colleagues, witnessing this recognition, seemed surprised to see that respect and kindness could also bring positive results. Lily also organized small sharing meetings, where everyone could share their feelings and recent experiences. The exchanges, initially tentative, quickly became sincere and constructive. Employees began to understand that true success lies not only in professional performance, but also in the quality of human relationships. Watching this transformation, Lily realized that her plan had paid off. She had not only exposed injustices and humiliations, she had also sown the seeds for a culture of respect and responsibility. As she left the company that evening, a small smile on her face, Lily knew the hardest part had been done. The seeds of change had been planted, and all that remained was to let them grow. A few weeks after the famous unveiling, the company had completely changed. The heavy, suspicious atmosphere had given way to a more collaborative and respectful one. The humiliations and mockery of yesteryear had become embarrassing memories, and everyone seemed determined to act with kindness and professionalism. Lily, now well known and respected by everyone, watched the transformations with satisfaction. She had implemented regular training sessions on respect in the workplace, established an open communication system for reporting inappropriate behavior, and encouraged employees to recognize the efforts of their colleagues. Some former mockers had not only changed their behavior, but had become positive leaders within the company. The young intern, who had been the target of mockery, was now listened to and valued for his innovative ideas. Colleagues who had been passive accomplices had become more vigilant and supportive, actively participating in creating a healthy work environment. One morning, as Lily walked through the main lobby, several employees stopped to thank her. It wasn't just for revealing her true identity, but for transforming the company's culture and showing them the importance of integrity and respect. Lily smiled softly, aware that true power lies not in title or money, but in the example and influence one can have on others. She had begun this experiment to understand the hidden humiliations and injustices, but she had ended up changing the lives of many people around her. As she left the company for the day, she felt light and proud. The test was over, and the result exceeded all her expectations: a transformed company, employees awakened to their responsibilities, and, above all, a lasting lesson in respect, humility, and justice.